Change your thoughts, change your life. How often have you heard this message or something like it? If you're like me, you've probably heard it a lot. And that's because it's become such a huge buzzword over the years that has gone on to inspire countless teachers, books, and schools of thinking. But if you spend a moment to think about this carefully, changing your thoughts is just another thought. Yes, you might shift from a so-called negative thought to one that is more pleasant or positive, but in the end you are still thinking. You are still relying on your mind and ego to perceive reality. But no matter how hard we try, our mind can never perceive reality. Yes, it might enlighten us in some areas, but it can never reveal the full truth. Because the fact of the matter is that truth is beyond all thoughts. It is something that is intuitively understood, without the reliance on logic and reason, without the reliance on our mind. And that's because truth and wisdom appeal to the heart, not to the mind. So instead of trying to change our thoughts, maybe it might be better if we just focus on observing them instead. That is, to not try to change anything, but to merely perceive and experience what already is. Because we are not our thoughts, no matter how positive they may be. We are something and someone much more than thought. And that is what we will focus on in this video. By the end of it, I hope you come away with a deeper and fuller appreciation of the power of self-awareness and how you can use this tool to notice your thoughts and eventually free yourself from them. By becoming more self-aware, we can detach ourselves from the stories and narratives that we have created. Stories that lead us into believing that we are someone who we are really not. For example, let's look at nationality for a second. So many people around the world identify with where they were born, and I won't lie, I used to be one of these people. I used to take great pride in my nationality and would get sad or even defensive whenever someone tried to attack, criticize, or offend it. But through my spiritual practice, I began to gradually notice my thoughts more and more, and ultimately drill down to the one thought that caused all this insecurity. The thought or fear of being no one. This is a fear shared by millions of people around the world, but sadly only a small percentage of us are actually aware of it. That's because we haven't yet done the inner or spiritual work to become more self-aware. Instead, we keep on waving our flags, singing our anthems, and cheering for our national teams. Now, this is just one example, but hopefully you get the picture. The more we think, the more we are further from the truth. That's why you see some of the calmest people on earth are also some of the wisest. It's their ability to remain calm, still, and silent that helps them see beyond the illusion of thought. And this is something we can all practice, no matter where we are on our spiritual journey. It's not like some of us are blessed with this gift, and some of us are not. The truth is, we are all capable of escaping the prison of our thoughts, but the key is that we must be willing to do so. Because being more self-aware is not without challenges. First, you have to cultivate the focus, discipline, and motivation to do so. Without these ingredients, it becomes very hard, if not impossible, to stay objective and to observe your thoughts without wanting to get lost in them. Now, for those of you who have been following the channel for some time, you know that I like to use this analogy of being in the river to explain thoughts. In other words, thoughts are like an endless river that most of us unfortunately get swept in. We don't realize we are actually inside the river, and so we don't have an inclination to get outside the river. But the river carries us on, trying to drown us in its current. However, the self-aware person recognizes that they are in fact drowning in their thoughts, and they look for a way to get out of the river and into safety. The self-aware person remains calm and collected and eventually gets out, noticing the river from afar, but never getting swept into it again. This is what it means to observe your thoughts without identifying with them. This is what it means to be self-aware. In the beginning, you might try to get out of the river, but then your mind pulls you back in, and that's okay, because we all struggle with this from time to time, and it's perfectly normal. But the more you practice self-awareness, either through silence, meditation, or any other means, the more you will see your thoughts as just some silly little drama playing out, not true reality. This drama gets played over and over in your mind until you have no choice but to accept it as reality. Now, to go back to the nationality example, pretend you have heard yourself so much growing up that you should be proud to be Italian, that you eventually become proud of being Italian. You forget the fact that there is so much more about you than just your nationality. And your thoughts keep feeding you this lie in what becomes a never-ending vicious cycle. Which brings me to the next part of being more self-aware. You not only need focus, you not only need discipline and motivation, but you also need to be more open. You need to be willing to reverse years of mental conditioning if you are to truly grow and awaken. And I think this is the part where a lot of us struggle. If you just keep on holding on to this belief that your nationality is important, then guess what? You will continue to give it an unreasonable value instead of recognizing who you truly are, which is a soul that goes beyond all nationalities. A soul that is never born, never dies, and is never locked or defined by geographic boundaries. This self-awareness not only helps us, but just as importantly, it also helps others as well. If we just continue this nationality example, we see that the less we identify ourselves with our specific nationality, the more we can learn from and appreciate other nationalities. Or better yet, the more we can appreciate people for more than just where they came from, for more than just where they live. We begin to connect with them on a deeper level and realize that it's not an us versus them scenario. Rather, we are all one. We come from the same source, share the same spirit, and live the same lives. It is only in the world of thoughts where everyone appears different. When you connect deeply with your soul, it doesn't matter if you are Italian, French, or Japanese, your soul is beyond all the thoughts you ever had or will ever have. This is the power of self-awareness. For what is self-awareness but becoming more aware of your true self? Not the ego or false self that so many of us believe ourselves to be, but rather the true self, the soul, the heart that has been living deep in our core before a single thought was ever formed. True self-awareness is coming home to our reality, coming home to our essence, which is God, the creator of all thoughts. Now, it's important to realize that not all thoughts are quote-unquote bad, nor does being self-aware mean that we have to shut off all our thoughts. Because remember, to change your thoughts is just to engage in more thoughts. You are never free from thoughts. If we want to have no thought at all, guess what? It is still a thought. Whether you want to have positive thoughts or to avoid all negative thoughts, at the end of the day, it is still a thought. The only way to truly transcend thought is to observe it and to let it go freely without judgment or attachment. That isn't to say you will never need thoughts again. Of course, that would be ridiculous. On the contrary, some thoughts are essential, especially during many critical tasks in our life, such as responding to an emergency or solving a very difficult problem. In these instances, thoughts are very important. After all, God gave us a mind for a reason, and that is to use it wisely. He didn't give us a mind to be trapped by it or to believe that there is only thought and nothing else. There is something more to who we are beyond thought, but it's up to us to find it. This is the struggle a lot of us face, but fortunately it can all be addressed by just taking the time to slow down and gradually become aware of our thinking. Trust me, even a few minutes a day will do wonders to how you see life, and more importantly, how you see your real self. So what do you say? Will you spend the time to give yourself the love, peace, and wisdom you deserve? If so, observe your thoughts and practice self-awareness. I promise you won't regret it, and you won't lose anything from it. And I just want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video and learning its teaching that it's trying to convey. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like and consider becoming a subscriber. But ultimately, whether you do or not does not change how I view my true self. But from a practical standpoint, your support really does help, and it goes the distance in helping others who want to find these kinds of videos. So thank you again for watching and for being a supporter of this channel however you can. Your self-awareness will be crucial if you truly want to grow, learn, and awaken to the beautiful soul that you are, a soul that perhaps you yourself have not encountered. Believe me, it is all possible, and it starts with being more calm, still, and observant. For once you see everything as it truly is, you no longer have the urge or desire to identify yourself with fleeting thoughts that have no substance. You will just simply be, watching the river of thoughts peacefully flow by. And there is no greater feeling than that.